A story happens, okay? Something happens right now in this building. CNN reports it. You get one side of the story. Fox reports it. You get the other side of the story. And then other companies start reporting it. Do you ever get the full picture unless you try to bring all of those scenarios into one big scene? No. So how bad is it going to be for the world when Rome falls?
Well, look at the Catholic Church now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a whole other animal that's happening right now. But how bad was it for the world when Rome fell? Now, was it good for Christians? In some respects, yes. In some respects, yes. Because how far-reaching was the Roman Empire?
They no longer had a organized force against them.
There you go. Now, did they have people after them? Yes. Did they have an entire leadership with a standing army marching at them 24/7? No. So was that a good thing for Christianity? Yes. Why did it happen to Rome? Why did Rome fall the way it did?
Divine intervention.
Why did Rome fall the way it did?
What answer do you want?
The right one.
Christians.
What happened to Egypt when they mistreated God's people?
His people cried to him.
His people cried out, and God did what?
He answered.
He answered. So what happens to a nation that attacks and suppresses and kills and murders and mistreats his people for a long period of time?
The wrath of God.
The strongest nation in the world imploded and then was destroyed with what was left. So why did it happen? How did they treat God's people?
They abused him.
They abused them. And God said, if you're going to keep doing it, this is what happens. That's pretty simple, right? All right. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 1. Rome is going to implode. And the fifth angel sounded. And I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Now, was this a literal star?
No.
We have to keep emphasizing these kinds of things over and over. It's important for us to always remember we're not dealing in a literal physical context. Right? I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was a key given of the bottomless pit. What's the bottomless pit? Who lives there? Satan and his angels. All right, so the bottomless pit is what? Hell. This is the place that is separated from God. All right, so the key to the bottomless pit. All right, next verse. Verse 2.
And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
All right, when the sun is darkened and the air is darkened, what do you know is happening?
It's getting dark.
Getting dark. But in context of apocalyptic language, when you see darkness coming upon something, what's following? Destruction. All right, destruction. All right, keep going.
And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, and the scorpions of the earth have power, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as faces of men, and they had hair as hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions.
Just to verse 10.
And, and they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months.
All right. That was a lot of reading, wasn't it?
I didn't volunteer for that one.
He kept reading, so I had to let him keep going. All right. The first 10 verses, we're seeing an internal destruction. Because whatever's happening to them is happening only to non-Christians. Okay? So who had his seal? Who has God's seal of approval? Who has God's stamp? Christians. So whatever's happening to these people is happening to them because they're not Christians. So we're seeing a moral implosion, an internal decay. What happens when a society becomes immoral? It falls, okay? Name some ways that immorality will take down a country.
Disease.
Disease. Okay.
Destruction of the household.
Destruction of the household. Absolutely.
Greed.
Greed.
Might makes right.
Do what? Might makes right. If I'm bigger, stronger, faster, smarter, I deserve it. What else? What other kind of immorality? How might
Stealing. I mean,
let's take the United States. Let's just take the United States for example. When we started telling children in school, you're nothing but advanced apes, what happened?
Started acting like animals.
They started acting like animals. Why wouldn't they? Think about it. If I say there is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no right, there is no wrong, how is someone going to act?
Like they want to.
Like they want to. Truth becomes what?
Relative.
Relative. My truth may be different than your truth. And if my truth and your truth are different, guess what? There's no way we can determine right or wrong. What were the gods of the Romans like?
Animals.
Do what?
They were a lot of times depicted depictions of animals.
Not the Romans.
Okay.
That would have been the Egyptians. What were the gods of the Romans like? Mars and Venus.
Huge, powerful, strong.
Huge and powerful. They mimicked them after the Greek gods. What were the Greek gods like? What did they try to make them do? How did they describe their gods? How would you describe Ares? What was he? The god of what? God of war. How did he act? Anyone ever study any Greek mythology?
Long time.
All right, Ares was an angry, violent, arrogant warrior. He killed because he could. So how do you think the followers of Ares responded?
In like
Kill
manner.
because they could.
Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Love everyone, anyone, as many as you want. So how do you think her followers responded? The same way.
Woodstock.
Diana, god of the Ephesians. Do what you want. She wants you to be happy. Serve her and be happy. And guess what you can do? Anything you want. So how do you think the people of Rome lived?
Like they wanted to.
Like they wanted to. They lived like they wanted to. They did whatever their goddess or god that they had made allowed them to do. And if your God says, hey, these people don't like you, take them out. What would the people do? March over there, kill everybody, keep it right on moving. So you have a nation that has multiple gods and they worship all of them. Now, how confusing is that society going to be?
Terrible.
You can have Aries, Aphrodite, and all of them all mixed into your belief system. You can be angry, love the people, and do whatever you want. You can commit as much immorality as you please. Do we see that in Rome? You ever heard this statement? When in Rome. Why do we make that statement? Where does that statement come from? What does it mean? What does that statement mean?
Get in where you fit in.
Anything goes. When in Rome, no one needs to know. We have a saying in the United States. We make it a very similar statement. What happens in Vegas stays in. How do people act in Vegas?
However they want to.
However they want to. Gambling. How does gambling affect a society?
Some broke.
Now, when they try to sell a town or a state on passing gambling, making it legal in that area, what do they promise?
Better schools.
Revenue.
Better schools,
Better roads.
better
Better
roads.
police department.
You're going to get scholarships to school with the lottery scholarship. But what do they leave out?
Broken homes.
Broken homes, people gambling away their child's college funds, their life savings, going broke, increase in alcohol, increase in drugs, increase in violence. So what does that do to a society? Tears it down. Homosexuality, rampant in Rome. Rampant in Rome. Some of the Caesars walked around with their male friends. Young boys. What do you think about Rome?
Not much.
When we look at Rome, they were depicted as everybody do what they want to. You don't judge me, I won't judge you. Everybody go along to get along. They had a thing called the Pax Romana, and meant peace of Rome. As long as you were a Roman citizen, this is why Paul got a personal friend in trouble, or a policeman in trouble. They beat Paul, but they forgot to ask Paul a question. And what that question was? Are you a Roman citizen? Because you can't hit anybody without a trial that's a Roman citizen. So Roman citizens, they get special treatment? Preferred treatment. So, do what you want. Stay within our parameters, but you can do pretty much anything you want. Why would that be an internal destruction to a society? You break down the home. What happens when you break down the home? We see it today. What happens when you break down a home?
Break down society.
You break down society. You break down society. Mass confusion. When you destroy the home, you destroy a society. Isn't that true? What's our society doing? Their best to destroy what? The home. The home. They actually tell kids in school, in this country, you don't necessarily, not everywhere, but in some places already they started, you don't necessarily have to obey your parents. You need to find out who you are.
And that's when the responsible parents.
Uh-huh.
They don't have to find it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I let mine know who they were.
Right. One time I may have told some of you this. One time I told my mom she was threatening to whoop me, and I told her I was going to call the child services people if she did, and she told me I'd need them when they got there.
Went ahead and gave you the whooping and called and party.
When you destroy the home, you destroy the moral fabric of society. Don't you? Break it down. If children don't respect their parents, will they respect the law?
No.
If they don't respect their parents, will they respect the government?
No.
If they don't respect their parents, will they respect their teachers? No. So break down a family, and you break down the society. In Galatians chapter 3, Paul's talking about the old law and the new law. The law of Moses versus the law of Christ. And he makes a statement. In verse 26, he said, "For you are all children of God by faith in Jesus Christ." That's the faith. We're all children of God by the faith in Jesus Christ. "For as many of you as have been baptized into Christ have put on Christ." If you haven't been baptized into Christ, you haven't put Him on. And if you haven't put Him on, guess where you are? You're outside of Him. And all spiritual blessings are found where? In Christ. Perhaps there's someone here tonight that's not a member of His church, not a member of His body. They've never obeyed the gospel. They've never believed that He is the Son of God. They've never repented of their sins. They've never confessed that He is the Son of God. Or perhaps they were never baptized for the remission of their sins. Perhaps there's someone here tonight. Or perhaps there's someone here tonight who's struggling with sin, who's struggling to do right. And you need to make changes in your life in order to be pleasing to God. Then don't delay. Please come while we stand and while we sing.
I hear